All right, so we're recording. Hi, everyone, and welcome again to my audiovisual channel. My name is Gabriela Handal. I'm a draftsman and also your host for this podcast, A Conversation About Art. With these conversations, I'm doing long-term research on the meaning of art and beauty. Today, I bring you episode 104, that is 104, and I'm going to be talking with artist George Chronakis. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It makes me think of Kronos, like the god of time. You'll have to tell me, George, if you enjoy this video, please like and share all the videos and subscribe because these actions are very helpful. You can help even further by checking out the links in the description. George, welcome to A Conversation About Art. You are episode 104. Please tell our listeners and viewers who you are and what you do.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if my surname has anything to do with Chronos, the sense of time,
Yeah.
right? I guess probably does to some extent. I haven't really researched about it. But yeah, I'll probably look it up and see.
Okay.
But anyways, it's a great thing to be here in your podcast. It's actually very nice, the idea of discussing, beauty and art, So I really appreciate being here. So yeah, I mean, I am a figurative painter. I try to be a kitsch painter also. I think it's quite hard to have that label, but I'm trying.
Okay.
So I haven't been painting actually for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've only started like 5 years ago. I actually have my master's degree in automotive design, in car
I see.
design.
Is that like industrial design? Or
It's
part of?
it's part of industrial design, but it's actually more specific area of design where we just deal with vehicles, cars and bikes and things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that's my educational background, but then I was teaching in India for after I graduated. I was teaching in India for 6 years. I was staying there in a very nice place, and I was teaching. I was part of a very nice college, and it was a great, experience. I always loved teaching, so I was part of that. But to some extent, as I was growing up and maturing, I started realizing, that there was a disconnect between, my inner thinking and my how to say, like my purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
I was finding a gap there between what I was actually doing and what I had in mind. So I consciously started turning more towards painting, which was always, I mean, something I would do as a child, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But then yeah, like 5 years ago I picked this up more intentionally, more consciously. And I was always looking for opportunities to learn, go to ateliers and stuff like this. So I just went for a workshop for a couple of weeks in France. I stay in Europe, in Brussels at the moment. So it was just nearby, and it was a nice, good atelier. And I just went there for a couple of weeks. And then I also had a chance to get a scholarship in GCA
Mm-hmm.
in New York.
Wow. Okay.
So I went there for, it was just a summer scholarship. So I just went there for a couple of months. It was, of course, like very insightful, very helpful. Um, so that's my like educational background as regards to painting. Yeah, and apart from that, I do consider myself like more self-taught,
Mm.
and I'm always trying to learn like from the old masters, um, from Odd Nerdrum, of course, also. Yeah, and that's about it.
Okay. All right. So, all right. I have lots of questions. Um,
Yeah.
so, okay. Why? So, all right. So, I can't say that I quite understand what kitsch is to begin with. Um, I sort of know what it looks like. I kind of, like, I feel like the color palettes are very similar between the paintings. When I look at them, I'm like, yeah, that does kind of have like I mean, in your background, what you have, your painting, I was like, yeah, that kind of has like a kitsch sort of flavor. It's like this kind of muted color palette and it's kind of hazy looking. But does kitsch have kind of like, does it have, I don't know, like a description of what it is in terms of like concept, I guess, and why do you think it's difficult to, if you as an artist are trying to make work under that label, why do you think it's difficult to fit into that label? And okay, let's start with that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I unfortunately I didn't have a chance to go and study personally with Odd.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a wife, a child, and it's very hard to move to Norway.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, from the discussions I've been having and the research I've done, that's the things I'll say. So probably take everything with
Sure.
a spoon of salt. How do you say this?
Yes.
This expression. Yeah, so kitsch is about sentimentality, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's like creating figurative work that it's not only just depicting, faceless expressions or just beautifully rendered, forms and anatomy, but it's more about storytelling. It's about universality, and archetypal pictures rather than pictures that just depict our own time. So it's more like timeless in that sense.
Okay.
And I mean, of course there are some similarities, in color palettes.
Mm.
um, in order to try and like to avoid all this kind of modernism in a way where we have like loads of colors and abundance of colors that we can choose from, and really just focus on the essential and the bare minimum,
Mm.
which is more than enough if you really like. Actually, like Zorn, for example, was using the Apelles palette, really, the simple palette
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
four basic colors, things like
Yes.
this. So yeah, that's I think that's about it, more or less.
Okay. And so okay. So
I
I.
think,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just to answer your question about why I consider is difficult to be, uh,
Yes.
a kitsch painter or to fit under that label. It's because I mean you can try, but it's hard to achieve those elements of kitsch, like like a sentimental portrait, that
Mm.
captures the essence of the city or of the person, or even more to actually elevate a person through a portrait or through an action. So you might try, but it's not necessary that you're going to achieve. And that's why paintings take a very, very long time to be developed,
Mm-hmm.
and reach that kind of level, if they do.
Yeah. Okay. What do you mean by elevate a person? Elevate a person through a portrait or an action? What is it? What I mean? Do you mean in when you're depicting a person in a painting? But then either way, what does that exactly mean? Do you mean like exaggerate something in order to convey the feeling, or?
I think like how ancient Greeks used to elevate the human form with the right proportions,
Ah, yeah.
like
Okay.
their sense of beauty and everything. In that sense, that's one thing, but also through the expression,
Yes.
of the
Yes.
face. So, like how the features are depicted and the slight minor changes, in
Mm-hmm.
the eyebrow or the mouth, or where to put emphasis on,
Mm.
not like trying to imitate how a photo
Right.
works,
Yes. Yes. Okay. So would you say that a synonym of that is to like idealize, or like, I mean, idealize, yes, but kind of looking for the ideal of the expression or of the person. I mean, is that accurate?
Yes, to an extent. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. But also be able to, yeah, to even like when you look at a portrait, when you look at your I mean, it's very hard to, put it into words really,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more about, I think, how you perceive it emotionally, intellectually, and everything. So I think it's hard to put it into words, but when you look at a portrait or your portrait, in my opinion, you should be able to see an elevated sense of yourself,
Mm.
and I think it's easier to understand this when you kind of juxtapose it with the degenerated version of yourself that you can see,
Mm-hmm.
which might be something that's very, low level intellectually or emotionally. So anyways, I
Yes.
mean, it's quite hard to pinpoint that, but when you look at examples of Odd Nerdrum's portraits, for instance, his self portraits in particular,
Mm. Okay.
I think you can get a sense of that.
Okay. So you would say that Odd Nerdrum's self portraits specifically have this um, quality of elevating himself basically into a superior form of what he is. Is that right? It's better, it's something like that. Does that seem right?
Yes, to some of the portraits that he's doing, yes. But in some others, he's just, intentionally dropping the mask in a way you can say, and revealing himself as a poor person
Mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm.
someone who's lost, or, you know, um, like in comparison, when you look at portraits from, like Zorn or um, uh, even what's his name? Sorry, I forget. Ingres,
Okay.
Ingress,
Yeah, yeah.
Ingress, how you call it? Yeah, or Sergeant, or
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
see, like, there's always that very serious expression, like they're not willing to drop the mask, as if
Mm-hmm,
they are, directors of some kind of firm
mm-hmm. Yeah.
or something,
Yeah.
always like very, very prestigious and very serious, and
Yes, yes.
you know.
Okay. All right. So I would like to understand better the part about sentimentality in your description of characteristics, I guess, of kitsch, because I think I get the storytelling part and I think I get the universality and the archetypal part. But the sentimentality part, I'm not sure that I understand in terms of, just like, what does that mean, and I guess why is it part of the descriptions, I guess, of kitsch, I suppose. Yes.
Yeah, I think sentimentality has to do with, depicting, let's say, empathy
Mm-hmm.
towards the subjects that you're dealing with in your paintings,
Okay.
like it could be the love between a couple, the embrace, the warm embrace of each other, like things which we we seek for those things when we look at other forms of art,
Mm-hmm.
like in movies, for example. There's always, the hero who is undergoing some challenges, and he has a loved one who is, she's lost or he is lost, and he's trying to find him, and so forth and so on. Even in novels that we read, in books that we read, so I think we're looking for that in art forms, but maybe not so much in painting, due to, how art has evolved. And I do think it's a necessary element in our lives, to be in
Mm.
love, to be empathetic towards each other,
Mm.
so that's the thing.
Okay. 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 So all right. Just give me a second. So I'm curious about how you worded the thing when you were talking about how you transitioned from the car design stuff to fine art, I guess. Um, that there was this. You said there was a gap between your insides and something else. I don't quite remember. So if you could repeat that and then explain what was in that gap? Why did the gap form? And it's like, what were you trying to talk about, I guess, with your visual expressions that you were unable to kind of say with the illustrations of cars, like the car design stuff.
Yeah, I mean, car design is a limited platform in that sense. Like to me, at least, there's a certain amount and limit of things, that you can do. It's very utilitarian, very utilitarian based. And also, I personally didn't quite like the whole mentality, of designers and design studios because I was working in one of them, and I just didn't find that it resonates,
What was the
with me.
mentality?
Oof. Do you want to go into that? I don't know. Uh, it's yeah. I mean, it's driven by profit, of
I see.
course,
Okay.
and status, and you have a boss who tells you what to do, how to do it, certain expectations, from yourself. And anyways, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing by
Yeah,
all
yeah.
means. Yeah, it just didn't, resonate with me because yeah, I mean, in my spare time, and I was trying to research and look for, more timeless things in life, I suppose. I don't know how to phrase it correctly, but I felt design was not really the platform for me to explore and to become a better person, really, I
Yes,
felt.
yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then is that the gap that you felt forming between the car design and what you wanted, like
Yeah.
feeling like a better person and all of this stuff. Okay. So then why or how does it feel that making fine art makes you a better person?
Um, Lately, I'm dealing a lot with, like bigger narrative kind of paintings, and I put a lot myself into the paintings. I use myself as a model, and um, I first of all like see myself in situations that I don't necessarily see myself in everyday life, and that gives a sense of potential, and possibilities. It's like an actor playing a part or something, you know.
Yes, yes.
Um, so that is one thing, but also um, reading and researching, about philosophy in art, painting, and beauty, of course. All of those things, I think, slowly lead to a better awareness and a better position of myself in time and space, let's say. Like putting myself better into context, compared to what was happening before me. Uh, Maybe more specifically in the genre of painting, but also painting with philosophy and theology, because I find those things to be interlinked, And maybe we can talk about more of that when we talk about art in general. But yeah.
Yes. You mean about the theology part? Like so like religious type stuff, is that it?
Art is a reflection of our understanding of the cosmos, and the divine, whatever you want to call it. I mean, when I said theology, yeah, maybe it's not the right word. I mean, it's more about our understanding of the cosmos, and the divine, whatever that, might be for each one of us, whatever name you want to call it, you know.
Yes. Okay. Okay, yes. So the what you were talking about just now about how when you do the self, if because you've been putting yourself in your paintings as a reference, referencing yourself for the paintings, that made me think about what you said earlier still about empathy, um, because you try to imagine what it would be like to be in this situation, in whatever situation it may be, that maybe you've never been in. Like you were saying, like when somebody is an actor, I mean, it's like the point of being an actor is to try to understand enough about a situation and a character in order to embody them in a believable way, so that the audience will believe what's happening and understand what's happening and everything. So then I quite like that a lot, because it's not sympathy, because when one is sympathetic for another person, you feel sorry for them, whereas when you're empathetic, you understand, right? So that seems like a much higher quality thing. It's like it's better if I understand you than if I feel sorry for you, because it's like I think feeling sorry for someone is almost an insult sometimes, because it's like, oh, you
Yeah.
poor thing, you can't get yourself out of that because you're so incapable and useless and inept, something like that. It's like
Yeah.
feeling sorry for someone is like practically an insult in a way, sometimes. Okay. All right, so then all right, let me just write down what okay, so yes, because I want to talk about that theology and art thing. So let's start then with Mr. Chronakis. What is art in your opinion?
Yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, to me, art and our perception of the cosmos and the divine kind of go hand in hand. And my research has kind of showed that, and my understanding has kind of showed that. So before giving a certain definition about art, because definitely in our society, our in our times, I think it's quite subjective, and everybody can give more or less their own kind of definition, I
Mm-hmm.
suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can say, that art can be an arrangement of elements, to evoke an emotional response, and things like this. But I find this quite abstract, and I would like to maybe, take a journey through, maybe starting with ancient Greece, for example,
Sure.
and seeing how art was perceived back then. I mean, we can go way back to the Egyptians and the Minoans, but I don't think we have the time for this. So let's maybe start with that.
Yes.
um, so, like in ancient Greece, gods were anthropomorphized. They had that, the human body, right?
Yes.
So that people could relate to them, of course, and learn from them and be inspired. But it's very important to understand how Greek gods intervened and took part in the lives of mortals, and they were part of their struggle. And you have, the epic poems by Homer, like Odyssey and Iliad, where gods take an active role, an active part in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So um, because the Greeks also believed in the anthropomorphic sense of gods, and they also believed in the well proportioned and harmonious representation of the human form. They idealized the depictions of gods, um, so that the viewer can get a sense of balance of the cosmos, as the gods were depicted,
Mm-hmm.
in a human form. So that perfect idealized human form was also, reflecting that balance in the cosmos, in the creation, for example. So that's why, like, sculptors and painters, they had to find ways to elevate their craft. They'd find ways to find that perfect proportions, to depict a god. And that's why many times they were using, for the same sculpture, they were using multiple models to
Mm-hmm.
pose for them, so they could, choose the best of the best, from each body type, in a way, and find that idealized form.
Yes.
But I think also it's important to clarify, like, that when art historians or art critics, they talk about the idea of fine art in ancient Greece. They seem to, I don't know, intentionally or not, maybe neglect that the Greeks didn't have a specific word for fine art.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, they called the process of, taking a raw material like leather or pigment or even a character for a play, and using a particular set of, ideas to create the product, which was called techni in Greek. And techni is the root word for technician in English also.
Yes. That's cool. Yeah.
Um, yeah, but that covered, a broad range of skills. Like anybody could be um, technician or have the element of techni in
Mm-hmm.
their work. It could be an orator, a fabricator, a shoemaker, and of course, a painter, a sculptor, or whatever. So yeah, art in that sense was having a much broader range. It wasn't just confined into what we call, fine arts or sculpture and painting. um, and the same thing, of course, happened during the Renaissance. You have the Latin word ars, which is the root word for art, which also, encompassed a broad range of skills and crafts. And it was also like a practical and technical expertise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
now, in Renaissance, we have the church, which was almost a polytheistic religion, right? Back then, because
Mm-hmm.
yes, we have God, or Jesus, but we also had the lives of the saints,
Mm-hmm.
and other scenes from the Bible. So um, I think the church did appreciate the didactic function of painting and sculpting, so that's why it commissioned so many works. Um, yeah, so I think um, I think it's interesting also to see how in the Renaissance the artworks were also perceived con- in their surrounding context, like in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go and see a Caravaggio, like the Crucifixion of Saint Peter, for example, in Santa Maria Popolo, I think is called, the church is a much more, I think, um, how to say, like the experience of the painting becomes a lot more vivifying and strong,
Mm-hmm.
rather than seeing it in a in a museum,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
example. So art did have a function. It played a role in people's lives and society, and of course their sense of the divine,
Mm-hmm.
because they were depicting majorly this kind of works, right, from the church. So it was going like hand in hand. Um, but then I think in the 17th century, when the Protestant Reformation started and the rise of Lutheranism,
Yes.
had a very significant impact, right? And painters were not really encouraged anymore to paint those kind of scenes
Mm-hmm.
uh, from the Bible. So, the concept of art, I think, started to change. Perception of art started to change because the idea of the one and only benevolent God started becoming more dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So art was also starting to shift more towards beauty and beautification, because we have, to depict and find God in that benevolent sense, and beautiful sense in a way. And yeah, I think also later in the 18th century, in the Enlightenment era, um, that led also to a growing emphasis on like individual creativity
Mm-hmm.
in the pursuit of beauty. So that led to the development of what we call fine arts,
Sure,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think art was afterwards like divided into what we say like refined aesthetic pleasure on
Mm-hmm.
one hand, so we had the fine arts depicting that aesthetic pleasure and trying to, you know, uh, give us a glimpse of that sense of the benevolence of God, of the goodness of God and the beauty. And on the other hand, we had the functional, the more technical side. So the technical side and the pleasure side, the kind of, like divided art into these two parts.
Mm-hmm.
So art became less of a functional element in society. Um, yeah, and at the same time, of course, you have the rise of philosophy in Germany, with Immanuel Kant, in the 18th century,
Mm-hmm.
and Hegel, for instance. And Kant, for example, he placed a strong emphasis on the genius and originality, and not just mere skill.
Mm-hmm.
So he proposed, that a genius artist possesses unique creative ability,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is beyond just mere technical skill.
Yes.
And yeah, yeah. Um, and I think that also played a huge part, because he said like the artist's, capacity for originality and aesthetic expression are the most important things to look for in
Mm-hmm.
art,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
expect from an artist. And also Hegel as well, with the zeitgeist, his zeitgeist, theory, which is basically to be able to just reflect the spirit of your own time.
That's him.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I think he coined that term, if I'm not mistaken. I
That's
mean,
really annoying. Okay.
I'm not a scholar by any means, but
Yeah. Yeah, you know more than I
yeah,
do with like this stuff. So go ahead.
yeah, I think, yeah. So Hegel, yeah, proposed the idea of, the art needs to reflect the spirit of its own time,
Yes.
so not anymore the timeless
Yeah. Yeah.
or the archetypal,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah. So I think like all of this, it was like the perfect storm in a way,
Yes.
which kind of led to our perception of art as fine art,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
see it out of context, without the skill, without the technical side maybe so much, and more emphasis on beauty and genius. um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so I think um, yeah, I think then, yeah, I mean, if I'm talking too much, let me know if
Oh
you
no,
want to
no,
ask.
please. When you're done,
Um,
I have questions.
yeah, then yeah, like in the 19th century, then you have the Romantic movement,
Yeah.
which further elevated the artist's role, like emphasizing emotion, imagination, personal expression in art, and I think it was Romanticism was more like a reaction against rationalism
Yeah.
and the restraint of enlightenment,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in a way. So, um, and at the same time, you also have like maybe the most influential philosopher of the 19th century, which was Friedrich Nietzsche,
Right.
the German philosopher,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, who famously proclaimed that God is dead. You
Yes,
know,
but okay. Now I'll interrupt you because Dr. Jordan Peterson, in some I don't know what, he read the entire quote, and I was like, oh, it's way more meaningful than what people popularly kind of attach to regarding the quote. It's like it's a
yeah,
messed up quote, and it's not just God is dead because it's like some kind of punk thing to say. It's like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, no. I think what he meant, what Nietzsche meant, was that religion as an institution, or the church as an institution, was not as dominant anymore
Right.
as it used to be,
Yes.
and that I mean, man, is more, mm, how to say, he's placed in the center of the universe, in a sense that he's more now responsible, for what's to come,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
guess,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
way.
Yes.
So of course there's more power in man, but also more responsibility, to
Yes.
decide what is wrong and what's not,
Right.
you know and I think that also had an effect in art, because now every artist started searching for their, individual expression, because now I don't have, a church or whatever to tell me what to paint or how to perceive the world around me.
Mm-hmm.
So now I am going to create that world, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, yeah. So yeah. So yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that had a slow shift from, patronage from the church or other commissions to, what we call the art market,
Mm.
you know. Um, and of course the rise of the capitalist system that kind of followed,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and everything kind of became more egocentric in terms of painting, like everybody trying to express their own worldview
Mm-hmm.
in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So then we come to like very subjective and personal expressions, So and I think what happened with expressionists,
Yeah.
was a part of that. They tried to revolt against the idea of the Enlightenment and the Renaissance. Um, so then, you have all these, of course, like in the 20th century, all these art movements, right? Like cubism, surrealism, and all these isms,
Mm-hmm.
um, that came afterwards, which kind of shows the the search of man to find meaning, I think, because okay, God is dead. We Church as an institution is not anymore, depict yeah, depicting what we should paint and stuff, so or envision. So we kind of try to find ways to interpret,
Mm.
things.
Yes.
um, and yeah, so finally we come to 21st century,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big, I think it's another big story to how we perceive art. I mean, it's nice to see that we have figurative painting also starting to become, more present
Mm-hmm.
in the art world.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I think even in figurative painting there's still a big influence of modernism
Oh, for sure.
in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Um. Okay. So I have lots of thoughts. So okay. So do you think so? Do you think you personally would prefer this, the kind of like the old school quote unquote idea, the old school definition of art, or do you think the way that we perceive it now, or can you think of like, what are the pros and cons of each one? Because for example, for me, like, I'm aware that the idea of art has been changing the entire time, and I really it was very helpful to have kind of like the breakdown that you not like the breakdown, but kind of like the steps that the definition of art went through in order to get to where we are now, because that's of course very helpful and interesting. And for example, in my case, if I think of like the French Salon and around the 1800s and kind of like the demands of an artist in order for an artist to become an artist and then to become recognized as an artist. I don't know if I would like to kind of go through that really fine mesh filter, because of all of that. Because, I mean, for example, there's like so much cast drawing and so much drawing of sculptures and stuff. I can only do so much of that. It's like, it's, in a way it's a test. It's a test for the person who wants to do it. It's like, how badly do you want to do this? And it's like, if you want to get to this point, then you have to go through all of this. So it's like, there's like that demand. The demand of that study is kind of like a test to determine whether the person who is looking for something really wants to find the thing, right? Versus now, in the present, we can do whatever we want, which in a way is more difficult because you have to first find what you want. You see what I'm saying? So like it kind of has kind of pros and cons in a way. And so, for example, in your case, you had to go through freaking car design to to study. You had to go through studying car design to be like, this doesn't feel right and whatever. And, kind of maybe making the decision to go into fine art was very difficult because you were like, oh, what am I going to do for money or like whatever it is, and then being like, finding kitsch, for example, and being like, I kind of want to do that. It's like, do I want to get into that? It's going to be difficult. And what even is it? So finding one's way on your own, on one's own, without any kind of guidance, whether from religion, whether from laws or whatever, is very difficult. So then this kind of leads me to then the comparison of the presence of religion to the lack of religion now, like the presence of religion in the past versus there not being a religion to kind of guide art in a way now. Because like, even if we're talking about previous to Christianity, it's like the Greeks were depicting the gods, so like that was their religion. So were the Egyptians. So were just whomever. It was all religious depictions. For whatever reason, it was like the religion, whatever they believed in, was dictating what they were depicting because they wanted to, educate their populace or whatever. And then kind of like that very slow separation from the depiction, that slow separation between art and religion, has kind of ended up here. And so like then that makes a kind of a connection with what Nietzsche said of God is dead, in the sense that now you have to figure out by yourself what could be good or what could be bad. It's like there's no guidance from a religious point of view because whether a person likes religion or not, that is the point of religion in a way, to kind of help a crowd of people and the individual to have an idea of what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. It's like that is its practical purpose. And it's like that precedes science, it precedes laws, and it's been extremely helpful because here we are. It's like among other things, along with evolution or whatever, but it's like that is kind of like the tether on the chaos that is nature that has allowed us to get here in a way. And religion is the grandfather of science, is the grandfather of chemistry, of astronomy, of all of this stuff, because that was when we were first trying to make sense of things, and that's how we did it, through religion. So that was kind of ranty there, but maybe you can tell me at least just what you think about that in general.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let me see. I mean, for sure, there is a religion nowadays, whether we like it or not, and that is money, more or less. Everybody is after, I mean, not for everyone, and not in a sense of religion, but we do believe in our well-being through money, whether we like it or not. We place a lot more emphasis than necessary on our comfort,
Yeah.
and comfort comes with goods and
Sure.
money, and of course it's crazy what's happening in auction houses,
Yeah.
with art pieces sold for millions and millions of dollars.
Yes.
um, so I think on one hand, we have lost our sense of, uh, religion in a traditional sense, but we do have our faith in money.
Mm-hmm.
We've put most of our faith on that. And art is still relevant to that nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
It's associated with money, and it's a business, it's a market, you know and of course yourself, how subjectively paintings are being sold, that otherwise they wouldn't be sold as much, if it wasn't for some prestigious person behind them, or an auction house behind them, and so forth and so on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think money is kind of there, and our comfort and our well-being, and everything is revolving around that, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing. So I do believe that it is vital to know your values, to
Mm-hmm.
know where you're standing from, yeah, where you're standing at.
Mm-hmm.
And it is difficult, for sure, it's very difficult, but I think it's more honest and more true, the journey towards knowing your values when you do it yourself, rather than having a religion
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that depicts what's wrong and what's right
Okay.
to an extent,
Yeah.
you know. Um, because I mean, personally, I don't believe in an anthropomorphized God,
Mm-hmm.
per se,
Mm-hmm.
or definitely not a God that's going to send us to heaven or hell
Mm-hmm.
based on our actions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do think that the conscious journey of looking for the truth and looking for your values, and knowing yourself, I think it's more liberating. It's more difficult, but it's more it's more liberating and more honest, you know.
Okay.
And when I think I myself try to go back to the classics, like the Odyssey, for instance, the epic by Homer,
Mm-hmm.
which is a journey of self-exploration, you
Yeah.
know like that's the entire symbolism, and the difficulties and the challenges that one has to go through, like Odysseus had to go through after leaving Troy to find Ithaca, his hometown where he was king.
Mm-hmm.
And he was cursed by the gods, he was cursed by Poseidon, everything was against him, and he faced numerous challenges and creatures. So we all go through that one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I think it's very important. Yeah, maybe the journey is probably more important than the destination in
Sure.
that sense. Um, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I must ask you other things. So, Mr. Chronakis, what is beauty in your opinion?
Um, what is beauty, in my opinion? Um, I think I like to quote maybe Plato
Okay.
in his Symposium, where I'm not sure if you're familiar with.
I actually have read it. Go ahead.
You have read it.
Yes.
Oh, okay, very nice, very nice. Um, so everybody is asked to talk about eros, love,
Yes.
right? And it's interesting when Socrates speaks, and through the voice of or the character of Diotima, His teacher, Socrates' teacher, um, he gives a definition of, what beauty is. And it's interesting to see how beauty is perceived like a stepping stone towards the contemplation of higher truths in a way,
Yes.
and it's like a ladder of love, where like individuals, you initially appreciate physical beauty, um, but then you move on to moral and intellectual beauty, as the ultimate, form of
Yes.
uh, of beauty. And yeah, so we all start, and if you think about it, as young, teenagers, start falling in love with the body, of the other sex. And we go through that, and some of us remain our whole lives in that phase,
Yeah.
even when we get old. But yeah, I think it's important to go through that ladder, trying
Yes.
to look for that. And I think even in art, even in painting, for instance, it's important to know how to depict a physical form in a harmonious and balanced and beautifully depicted way, well rendered with nice proportions and
Yes.
everything. But if you just stay on that, then you don't climb up the ladder, you know. And that's where I have my, you know, reservations as regards to like atelier training and figurative,
Yes. Yes.
paint. So yeah, but I think beauty is n- not enough. Is not enough to save us, from our condition,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where we are, because I think it's overrated.
Beauty
It's
is.
overrated. Yeah,
Okay.
right. I think yeah, I think it's overrated because what would you do with just a beautiful, you know, thing? I mean, okay, I like buying beautiful stuff, and I think it's quite nice to have beautiful things around you, but you don't go to see a movie where, there is a beautiful girl and she's doing something nice, and then after an hour she's still doing something nice or beautiful, whatever,
Yeah.
you're looking for the ugliness in a way,
Mm-hmm.
like the challenges, the
Mm-hmm.
difficulties,
Mm-hmm.
that this beautiful person is going to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you have, catharsis, as Aristotle pointed out, so I don't think that beauty is enough
Okay.
in that sense.
But okay, then let me ask you. Okay, so tell me what you think about this then. So then what do you think about beauty as and in particular with your example of the movie. So what do you think of it as rather kind of like the destination rather than the journey? And like you were saying earlier, which I agree with, the journey is more important than the destination. Because I think that has almost like a compromise in a way, in the sense that beauty is not the most important thing, but trying to get to it is. You see what I'm saying? Because like I think it's also like one of the Greek guys. I don't remember which one. Okay,
Yeah.
the Greek philosopher type people, that it's like beauty is an ideal. So like beauty is truth and goodness and stuff. So so like in that sense, every one person is not entirely good. Everyone has good and evil within them, but then the goal is to try to be good as often as possible, if not always, to kind of achieve that goodness, sort of, so
Mhm.
then so then so then what do you think of that argument, I guess?
um what do I think? I think it's valid. uh, I quite agree with that. um But I think it's, yeah, I think in art and what we choose to depict, it's the concept of catharsis, like, or how Jung was saying about the shadow and the subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
that it's something that needs to be, projected outside and be reflected upon, and not just suppress it,
Not just
you
ignored.
know, not just ignored.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to that extent, I think to reach that sense of beauty, the ultimate beauty, we have to realize and go through these challenges,
Yes.
not just seeing it passively. I think beauty in art in particular, if you just strive for that, it is just passive, you know.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
it's not saying much. I mean, you can look at, some famous examples like Vermeer, for instance, a beautiful painter, very nicely rendered
Mm-hmm.
faces and interiors of spaces, like beautiful pictures,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even Anger, and his way of depicting the human face and flesh, and
Yes.
David and all of this. But it's very nice, and you can achieve great heights, if you pursue this kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
the beautification of nature and stuff. But it's ultimately, I think it's very boring
Mm-hmm.
after all.
Okay. And do you think it's possible that maybe through the, quote unquote beautiful work of art, the purpose the purpose of the work of art being beautiful is kind of meant to inspire the person to try to be better somehow. So, for example, if I look at an Angra painting, for example, I want to invest time with the painting. Like I want to be with the painting. I want to look at it and I want to appreciate it. And then it like makes me want to be as good as I can, as adept as I can in my own drawings, for example. So then that's kind of inspiration in a way because it makes me want to be really good at my own drawings as well, at my own work. For example, I mean,
Yeah.
same with like Ernest Missonnier, who I like also a lot. He was very adept
Mm.
at painting. Um, so okay, so yeah, what do you think about that?
Sorry, what is the
Well,
question?
because I guess what I'm trying. I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to like antagonize you or something. I'm just kind of trying to kind
Yeah,
of devil's advocate in a way, in the sense that
yeah,
maybe beauty does have a purpose when it's depicted in paintings, or not depicted in paintings. When the artist tries to deliberately, when a work of art is beautiful, it does have the purpose. So the purpose of beauty in a work of art is to inspire the viewer to somehow be better and to make them feel good and well, and to inspire a sense of positivity in the viewer.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, 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 okay,
yeah,
okay. But I think you look at it, or I mean, at least the example that you brought up, your personal experience, which is also mine to an extent,
sure.
maybe more in the past than it is now, looking at the beautifully rendered human form or face,
Mm-hmm.
But we see it, or you see the example that you brought up, from an artist perspective, I think. And it's not something, I guess, that, like, okay, maybe yeah, maybe I'm not 100%, correct about this, but what I mean is an artist is going to really appreciate a lot more the craftsmanship that goes through, a well executed, painting, a
Mm-hmm.
beautifully, rendered painting and stuff. Um, but if it's just, as someone who just sits there and, doing nothing, or with a blank expression on the face, I'm not sure how far it can take you, to what extent it can get you to that, elevation of your own experience of life, and your betterment,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
in a way. Uh, I don't know, maybe, and that's where the subjective thing, starts entering the discussion, what I perceive, what you perceive, what he perceives, and so forth and so on, right? But in art and painting, because of its evolution um, through the centuries, it that's what we expect. When we go to a museum or we go to an art gallery, we don't expect to be really, challenged much.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to a movie, you don't expect to just see beautiful people walking around. You expect to get a catharsis.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I mean, that's what's going to lead you to becoming a better person,
Yeah.
you know the challenging aspect.
Okay, but then do you think that maybe do you think that the reason for which, because I mean, I agree with you, at least in part about what you were saying, that maybe I'm looking at it at the work, at paintings or whatever, from the point of view as an artist, from the point of view of an artist, and that maybe like the layperson, quote unquote, is not expecting to is not really expecting anything when they go to a museum. And we have like the classic behavior of the person that like takes the picture with the smartphone and then just walks by. They don't look at the painting. But do you think,
Yeah.
so kind of, that's basically agreeing with what you're saying. But then do you think that comes rather, that behavior of the quote unquote layperson comes from the fact that the definition of art has been diluted so much, that it's a consequence of that, it's like that person has no reason to stay looking at the painting, because then the practical use of art is gone. And it's like the
Mhm.
person, the person of their own volition has no reason to spend any time with the painting. What do you think of that?
Yes, no, I do agree with that, to yeah, to a big extent, I think. um yeah, I think our expectations from, I mean, look, it is fine for some people to just, being tired from their daily, work and
Mm-hmm.
life, and they just want to put something on their wall that kind of feels nice, and fill up the space, but not something like very, meaningful in that sense. That's also fine, I suppose, and but I think we are all more or less in that mentality of how art has evolved through the centuries, and our expectations are very limited. Like, we don't expect anymore to go to a gallery, a museum, or look at a painting that has that sense of pathos, that sense of drama, or sentimentality, like we talked about before. Because also, on the other hand, painting has been to an extent substituted by other art forms that weren't present in the past, like the movies,
Mm.
for instance. Yeah, so yeah, I think yeah, our perception of painting has kind of, and our expectation has kind of degenerated and got limited. Yeah, so I do agree with what you said before.
Mm-hmm.
And also the context, like the context of where the painting is showcased
Yeah.
is quite crucial,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You can't expect to go to a museum with hundreds of other people, going by, and
Mm.
get the most out of a painting.
Mm-hmm.
You have to
Mm-hmm.
spend time with it in the correct setting, the correct atmosphere. The same thing as you watch a movie. Like, if you think about it, going to a movie theater, if everybody started walking and
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
and moving around, would you get the same experience? No,
Right.
no.
Yeah, it has to be dark and quiet and okay.
Yeah, but you still, like, even the institutions like museums and stuff, they don't really promote that kind of idea. I mean, it's hard maybe, to to one extent to do that, but I think we should be more educated as a
Oh, for
society.
sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, we can do with that.
Okay, well, Mr. Chronakis, we have broken the hour-long mark of our conversation. We're at about an hour and 4 minutes, so I'm going to start to close it out.
Yeah.
What do you want to add anything? Where can people find your work? Are there any projects you have coming up, like maybe a show or something? I don't know, a class, anything you want to add or anything you want to promote?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so people can find my work on Instagram.
Okay.
It's g.chronakis art. So yeah, that's my Instagram name. And currently, I'm working on some big narrative paintings. It's part of a big project, and I'm kind of showcasing a journey of, a hero, let's say, who undergoes exactly what we discussed before, like that journey of self-exploration, getting to find himself, but maybe through more archetypical sort of imagery
Okay.
in a way. So yeah, I'm just working on that at the moment. I'm also doing classes here in Brussels. I teach drawing and painting. I'm doing it online as well, so I have students who are doing it online, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay. All right. Well, lovely. The links for all of those things. Well, for your Instagram at least, do you have a website where people can find the class stuff where you teach?
Yeah, it's I should have it in the next couple of days. I was
Okay.
just yeah, designing it at the moment, but
Okay.
yeah, I'll share that with you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Please do so. All right. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna start to close it out. Thank you, George, very much for talking with me today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to support George and my podcast, you can do so through the links in the video description. I encourage you to have a look at those. So thanks again, everyone, and bye. See you in the next episode.
thank you.